بسم الله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We start with the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, and all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. And we ask Allah to send peace and blessings upon our Prophet, our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his family and his companions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Barakallahu feekum. May Allah bless you all. Thank you for joining us tonight for our final talk for Discovery Islam Week. And the title for tonight is the 5 necessities guarded by Islam. 5 necessities guarded by Islam, and the lecture will be delivered by Abu Mussab, all the way from Saudi Arabia. So Jazakallah khairan everyone. Jazakallah khairan Abu Mussab for joining us and spending some time with us. May Allah bless you. And without further ado, I will invite Abu Mussab to the floor. Jazakallah khairan. Just all right. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ma ba'd. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way he deserves to be praised. We ask Allah to exalt and mention and grant peace and send his blessings upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This right here brings back some memories. You guys are all, what do they call them in modern language, boomers or noobs or something. You guys are still like new to the scene. It all started here in 2012. My first contribution to the Discover Islamic was in 2012. Subhanallah, that's like 11 years ago? 11 years ago. And this was the hall that we used to give the first lecture. I think the first lecture was titled, "Will this world come to?" Listen to the funny subjects we had back then. Will the world come to an end in 2012? Because that was like a thing at some point, where people literally thought that the world was going to come to an end in 2012. Sure enough, it didn't come to an end as we predicted in the lecture, because we Muslims just know better. But it was still an entertaining session nevertheless. This hall means something to me, basically. We've had some good old times here. And I'm glad to be here once again, alhamdulillah, 11 years later. If it proves anything, it proves the superiority of the message that Allah has blessed us with. And when I was looking at the, oh, never mind. Earlier, I was looking at the flyer. I noticed that everything that we have been discussing from day one until now is a culmination of this actual lecture. Meaning we've already delivered this lecture throughout the past few days. Whether you paid attention or not, that's a different subject matter. But in every one of those sessions or lectures or workshops, we actually addressed the matter of how Islam is here to protect your religion, and what does that have to do with the previous religions, your wealth, your life, your intellect, and your lineage. Known as الضروريات الخمس التي جاء الإسلام لحفظها. The 5 necessities that Islam came to preserve. And by preserving those 5 necessities, there are 2 objectives that we will attain. The first of which is justice. And justice is the biggest fallacy that we live today. Meaning we're living in times where injustice is everywhere, but it is promoted to the people as though it is justice. All of the oppression that takes place in the name of whatever ideologies that the people have invented, all of those are actually forms of injustice and oppression materializing in our daily lives. Yet we have become so brainwashed and so deluded that we actually believe that those are a form of justice. Whereas the only justice ever is the justice that the Creator revealed. My intellect and your intellect are deficient. They are defective. They are incapable of sorting out what is best for the society at large. We did not create ourselves in the first place to know what's suitable for us. Only the one that created us knows what's suitable for us. Similarly, any manufacturer that manufactures a product, they are the most entitled to create a manual. A product doesn't create its own manual because the product is made by someone else. Who should put a manual of how to assemble, how to use, how to maintain, how to discard if you need to throw away like a battery? The ones who made it. And who made mankind? The Creator, Allah. Therefore, Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who knows what's suitable for us. And those necessities bring about justice in this world. And they bring about salvation in the life to come. And these are the two great objectives of the 5 necessities in Islam, that Islam guard. Number one, that in this worldly life, you have justice amongst everybody. Husband and wife, father and son, father and daughter, siblings, neighbors, the rulers and those who are ruled, the people in charge and the people that do labor work and service, the educational institutes. Everybody is operating in a way where justice is maintained. Now, today you almost don't see that anymore. And that is due to the fact that the Muslims themselves have not upheld those standards. Those were the standards that were laid down by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were picked up immediately by his close companions. And in the first era of Islam, in the first early generations, it was the greatest manifestation of justice that the world has ever known. Even during warfare. There wasn't a group of people that were more just and considerate and compassionate than the Muslims. But today it's been hijacked by either extremists, radicalists, or social media. And the media that dictates the narrative that you and I should watch and hear and listen and get fed. And therefore people now believe all kinds of things against Islam that Islam is free from. So let's begin with the matter of religion. First of all, we need to understand a foundational principle about the religion of Islam, regarding which Allah said, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. It is He who has sent His messenger with guidance and the religion of truth to manifest it over all religions, although they who associate others with Allah dislike it. In this context, what we want to highlight is that the only religion that is acceptable to Allah in this day and time is Islam. Inna ad-deena 'inda Allahi Islam. Verily, the religion acceptable in the sight of Allah is Islam. In another ayah, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Whosoever desires a religion other than Islam, it will never be accepted of them. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. He will be in the life to come among the losers. Why though? Why the audacity? I can understand how followers of other religions say, look at these guys, man. What a bunch of show-offs. What kind of arrogance is this to claim that only a religion is the true religion and all of us are just doing nothing over here, wasting time. Don't look at it this way. Whenever we discuss something that might emotionally hurt you, please think logically. Don't use your emotions to assess my speech or to assess what is being shared. Use your intellect to assess what I'm saying. Because a lot of times the truth hurts. A lot of times, if actually almost every time, the truth hurts, i.e. emotionally you don't like it, but logically you have to accept it. You don't want to use your emotions to rationalize because you will never be able to rationalize. Rationalizing information requires clear thoughts. That means your emotions are curbed to the side and they put away so that they don't interfere with the understanding. It's not about hurting anyone's feelings. It's about calling a spade a spade. Why? Because there is no other religion that has the same characteristics that Islam has. And whenever we say religion and God, even though people have become quite passive or superficial or shallow in terms of how they understand them, we cannot be like that. We have to take a time out and pause and analyze. Wait a second, what do you mean religion? And what do you mean God? Because when you say God, i.e. creator for some, it's not necessarily creator for all. Meaning we have to understand who God is and what is intended by religion before we can say, okay, all these religions are put on the table, I have to select one that meets the criteria, and therefore only Islam meets the criteria. The reason why we don't have this eye-to-eye understanding is because we don't even understand who God is in the first place. Meaning someone can have a misconception about God, and therefore misconception about the religion, and believe that this is the path to salvation. But it does not work this way. You know why? Because we don't get to define them. We don't get to put the definitions. We are the ones who receive the definitions and the guidance from the Creator. So before I speak on behalf of God, anybody for this matter, you have to hear what God has to say. And if you really want to know what God has to say, you have no access to that except through scriptures. Scriptures, that no one goes to sleep, has a conversation with God, wakes up the next day with a new understanding of life. And if somebody had a dream, it could be because they ate too much before they went to bed. You can't use this as a form of revelation. If you want to know the details about God, it has to be from revelation. All right, so now we put it to the test. Revelation. What revelation is preserved? I told you it's going to be a culmination of what we've been discussing in the last few days. Which revelation meets the test of time and preservation and accuracy and being not imitatable? The only one is the Quran. The only scripture from Allah, from the Creator to the creation, is the Quran. Unlike any other scripture, without delving into the details and proving to people in front of them that there are contradictions in the other scriptures, just to gloss over it. Generally speaking, you do that research on your own. Even if no one bothered to deliver to you, you can figure it out on your own with the very faculties Allah gave you. But when put to the test, you will find that Islam and the Quran is the only one that meets the criteria of preservation. Therefore, Islam becomes the only religion acceptable to Allah. Good news! The good news is that Islam never tells you to insult any prophet, belittle any prophet, or disbelieve in any prophet. On the contrary, Islam requires of you to believe in every prophet and messenger that Allah sent, including the beloved Jesus, the son of Mary. Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, the son of Mary, that has a very prestigious and very lofty status in Islam. Something that most people don't even know. Jesus is more beloved to the Muslims than he is to the Christians. Because in Christianity, the approach to Jesus is that he is God or the Son of God or God and the Son of God simultaneously, along with the Holy Ghost. A paradox in and of itself, but that's not the point of contention right now. Whereas in Islam, you look at Jesus as the messenger of Allah. He's the messenger of God who performed miracles by the will of Allah. And so we have a close relationship to him because we believe in him what he preached himself, what he himself preached to the people, not what someone else invented about him. And that is extremely critical. And we're also to believe in Moses and Abraham and Jonah and Job and Jacob and Joseph, all of the prophets and messengers that were sent to the children of Israel, all the way until the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the seal of all prophets. You were told to worship only one creator. Something that is in line with your natural disposition, and something that does not require someone with a very high IQ to figure out. The faith which you believe in should not be one that only intelligent people can figure out, and the people that are less intelligent are lost. When you want to explain theology to people, this theology should be accessible, should be agreeable, should be understandable, should be digestible, not something that requires philosophy and someone who studied I don't know how many other sciences before they can even rationalize some of the things that you are saying. Whereas the concept of Allah in Islam and the great Islam is as simplistic as it can be. Number one, He creates everything. Number two, He is not like His creation. Number three, He did not beget any children, nor was He begotten. So that no one will ask the silly question of, well, who created God? You know? The typical, you want to go back to the original creator. Okay, so there's God. Who created God? Because they must have a creator. But the whole concept of the creator that He does not have a creator. That's where things began. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you believe in the fact that He was never begotten, nor did He beget any children. Now, you could say, how many chapters of the Quran do I have to study? What kind of Islamic degree do I need to get in order for me to understand this concept of God? Say, Habibi, don't go any further than Surah Al-Ikhlas, which was the question in today's Fajr Salah. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. That's it. You learn the surah, you understand it, you have understood the names and attributes of Allah. You can either spend another 10 years studying them in depth, or you can rely on this. It will deliver the same message. One will be more advanced, but in terms of perception, it's the same perception. Say it is Allah the one who's unique. As-Samad, the one upon which everything depends, and He depends on none. He did not beget, nor was He begotten, and there is none co-equal to Him. So whatever imagery the people draw, or sculpture, whatever images they have of God, we say, wrong answer. You can spend the rest of your life trying to imagine what Allah Azza wa Jalla looks like, and you will never figure it out. Why? There's nothing like Him. You haven't seen anything in the creation like Him, therefore it is futile for you to even make an attempt. And we as Muslims, we're not allowed to imagine those kind of things. But we believe. We believe based on evidence that we see, and the greatness of the creation is an indication of the greatness of the Creator. The fact that you human beings were able to build an airplane and create an airplane and manufacture an airplane that flies in high above the earth for hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours, and people are sitting in there in a cabin that is pressurized so that, we don't fly off. And you go use the bathroom, you go back and you get food served and coffee and tea. You're in the middle of the air, flying at the speed of I don't know how many kilometers. Who made this? The human being. If the human being is able to make something so great, then what about the one who made the human being who's able to make something so great? That's even more amazing. It's not like you did it on your own. Who guided us? Who facilitated for us to learn and to make these things? Allah, the Creator. But people don't pay attention to the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then when you have understood the message of the oneness of Allah, then your religion will be preserved. Islam came to preserve the religion of Muslims and also any non-Muslims under the protection of Islam. So Islam by no means forces people to destroy their churches or their synagogues or their temples and then they are forced to come into Islam. No, never happened. Whatever religion people choose to have, they are allowed to keep their religion. However, on the day of judgment, the criteria will be quite different. The fact that they will be able to live their life comfortably here does not mean that this means they have salvation in the life to come. That is their choice. But in terms of Islam preserving religion, then Islam preserves the religion of its followers and the followers of other religions. Yet, we are very adamant and keen on inviting everyone to Islam. We are very much in the missionary state of mind. You have to be a person that invites people to the truth. You cannot be passive about it. You cannot be lazy about it. That's why Allah Azza wa Jalla made Islam unlike others when He said, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. This day I have perfected for you your religion, and I have completed my favor upon you, and I have approved for you Islam as a religion. So from the get-go, we want to establish the fact that Islam is preserved by Allah, and it is the obligation of the Muslims to preserve the religion of Islam. And that means any kind of interference, any kind of innovations that the people bring into the religion, we need to be very wary of those. Mind you, what led the people astray before us is innovations. Meaning they had teachings from the prophets, but the people wanted to get creative, and they would add things and delete things. In the process, the entire teaching was lost. In Islam, we have a very strict code against bid'ah and innovation. Because every innovation will lead astray, and whatever is astray will end up in the fire. So you as a Muslim, you have an obligation to learn Islam the way it was revealed, to maintain Islam in your life and practice it. It is not a theoretical religion that you read about, it's something that you implement in your daily life. And then most importantly, you protect Islam from any insertions, any additions, any innovations, any alterations that might happen throughout the time. This is an individual obligation on every Muslim. And that means that we also have to bring people into the fold of this religion. The second thing that Islam guards is an-nafs. And that is a controversial topic just because of the way the media has portrayed us. But inshallah, when you get the information from the source, it will all make sense to you. First of all, Islam does not allow the killing of any individual the way the non-Muslims might quote some ayah, وَاقْتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ ثَقِفْتُمُوهُمْ, kill them wherever you find them. You know, the people that go look for the entire Quran for one ayah, and then they want to give it to you like only 3 words, without context, without the beginning of the ayah, the end of the ayah, the one before, the one after. And that is a silly. You cannot do this in any kind of field. Any field that is based on authenticity and truthfulness, any academic discussion, you cannot just bring a quotation from a person only getting 3 words of what they said, without mentioning the whole context, because context is everything. And so whoever actually looks into these ayat will quickly find out that those were during an actual war. Most of these ayat were in the context of war. And they had a specific reason. It is not to be applied as people claim today. So when there's a group of, we hope that there's still Muslims who commit acts of terrorism in the name of Islam using these kinds of evidences, it is our obligation as Muslims to fight back and to clarify to the people how Islam approaches an-nafs. We know that when the matter of Bani Israel, when they, Habil and Qabil, when one of them killed the other, Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us, من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا. Because of that, we decreed upon the children of Israel that whoever kills a soul, unless for a soul or for corruption done in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. And whoever saves one, it is as if he had saved mankind entirely. The violation or killing one person wrongfully equals you killing the entire mankind, the entire of humanity, the entirety of humanity. If that's not grave, then what is grave? So the concept of you committing an act that entails bloodshed and loss of lives for innocent civilians, whatever that may be, you're now responsible for compounded sins. Not only you've killed one soul, you've killed multiple souls right now. And if one is equal to the entire mankind, then what about the multiple souls that you have violated? So this was tooth and nail against the way of Islam. So much so that the Prophet ﷺ did not even allow, he mentioned about if there's a covenant between the Muslims and the non-Muslims, and that there's someone who's protected under the law of Islam, you're not allowed to touch this person in any harm, either. So even if the Muslims were the ones in dominance, the people that are living under the Islamic law are to be protected by the Muslims and by the Islamic law. It is an obligation on the Muslims to protect those of other religions under them, as opposed to what people claim that they're going to kill them. And if Islam promoted, if it was spread by the sword, as many people claim, then how are they still non-Muslims today? How are they non-Muslims in Palestine? Or Lebanon? Or any of these countries where there are Christians who've been living door to door, neighbors to the Muslims all these years? If we have an obligation to eradicate and kill everyone, then none would have remained. But clearly you know by now that this is not true. This is a propaganda against the Muslims, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to help us understand it. Secondly, you could say, okay, I'm not going to harm another soul. But what about suicide? One of the necessities that Islam guards is as a nafs, and nafs includes the nafs of others and your own nafs, your own self. Islam prohibits strictly suicide. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever kills himself with a piece of iron, a weapon, that piece of iron will be in his hand and he will be stabbing himself with it in the fire of hell forever and ever. Hadith Sahih Bukhari. In the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. Do not kill yourselves, verily Allah is merciful to you. Now, killing oneself can take on different forms. There's the wild type of suicide where someone shoots themselves with a gun, or they swallow some poison, or I don't know what modern ways people have. Is there anything new in 2023 that I'm not aware of people kill themselves in? Like something funny or funky or something like that, no? Because at some point it was a trend that people kill themselves on like live feed. Like they'll be live on Facebook or YouTube and then they shoot themselves. Anyways, whatever it may be, that type of suicide is haram. But there's another type of suicide that is more subtle and more gradual that is also prohibited in Islam, yet many people are unaware of it. And that is any type of consumption of any chemical or any product or anything in this world that will lead to disease or that will lead to death. So you may not kill yourself immediately, and you may not kill yourself in the long run. And that definitely allows me to bring up the topic of cigarettes. Because until now, I've never seen a product in my entire life, I've never seen a product like cigarettes. Have you ever looked at what it has on the box? Like the imagery that they use on the box, and then the disclaimer that they have? And try any other product in the world that will give you a message like this, no way you will buy it. Imagine if this bottle of water had a picture of someone whose lungs were burnt, and he has a hole in his neck, and it says, drinking spritzer water causes cancer. And blah, 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 blah. Oh, mashallah, great. Give me 5. No one would ever buy this car. Like, imagine if you bought a car that says, the likelihood of this car crashing is like 80%. You're like, great, let's go for a spin. I mean, you don't do this with anything else in the world, except with cigarettes. Somehow people say, yeah, well, okay. It's not going to happen to me. What do you mean it's not going to happen to you? How do you know who's going to happen to and who it's not going to happen to? No one knows the future. Just because your uncle or your grandpa or your dad smoked for 40, 50 years, it doesn't mean that genetically you're going to follow his footsteps. Because that's the excuse people give you. Oh, I know Fulan, he's been smoking his whole life. Like a rock, nothing happened to him. Yeah, and I know another guy who died after 2 months. Right? So do I have to introduce you to people that are going to die soon with cancer? For you to understand the gravity of cigarettes, for example? So that's an example that people take very lightly. And similar to cigarettes would be many other things like vaping and all this Vaping right now, someone thinks that it's a better option because supposedly it doesn't have the same chemicals. Look, man, it's too early. Wait a few years before they find out that, oops, vaping is actually far worse than cigarettes. These are businesses that try to make money. Nobody cares about your health. Nobody cares about you. They try to make money. Inshallah, you roast and die in front of them. As long as you buy one more before you die, that's good for them. These are businesses not looking out for your best well-being or your health. Don't believe the fake studies that they tell you, oh, for now, vaping is safer than cigarettes. Anything that you insert into your body like this is not good. It's prohibited. And it's going to cause you short-term and long-term damage. Some of which are not repairable. Sometimes you get a disease and you recover, sometimes you get a disease and you never recover from that. So you're not allowed to commit gradual suicide by leading a lifestyle wherein you know that eventually you are going to kill yourself in this manner. That is Islam's perception of preserving an-nafs, which extends all the way to the animal kingdom and the universe in which we live. Among the things that Islam came to preserve is al-mal. Does anyone know what mal means? Wait, did you just give me like a whole sentence for one word and I didn't hear anything? It's supposed to be one word. Wealth or money? Money and wealth, are they synonymous? Huh? Could you possibly have a lot of wealth and have no money? Now you guys are confused, man. Could you be wealthy and have no money? Yes. You can have assets. That's not money right now. You have a building in your name. That building is not money. You can't go to the bank and withdraw it. Withdraw a building from an ATM machine. But that's a lot of wealth that you have. But you may not have any money. Some people have no money, no wealth, nothing. And some people have it all, mashallah, tabarakallah, depending on what you do in life. But that's besides the point. Islam came to preserve wealth, let's keep the general, generic term, wealth, because it could be in the form of money, it could be in other forms, it could be gold, it could be silver, things that are valuable assets that, you know, if needed, you could convert them into money, the modern money that we have, the paper and coins. But now, what does Islam have to say about that? Number one, Islam is against taking advantage of those who are less fortunate than you financially. And one of the biggest matters that Islam promotes that brings about justice to the society is the prohibition of usury. Usury, which is called in modern days interest, even though there's nothing interesting about it except that you are really harming the person that already has financial issues. That's why Islam had the strictest code against any type of usury where you give someone something, but then you want in return that and on something else on top of it. Why? Because at this moment you have the upper hand. You are the provider, he's the one in need. I'm going to capitalize on your need in order for me to grow, become more wealthy while you are barely surviving. So the concept of interest and loaning people money with interest, it's as though someone is he dug for himself a hole, and then he's reaching out with his hand for you to help him, and instead you grab his hand and then you shove him down. That's what it is. You need 1,000 ringgits because you're struggling financially. I say, listen, I give you 1,000 ringgits, but every month you don't pay me, there's 2% on this. Or whatever equation it may be. Bottom line is, even though I lend you 1,000 ringgits, when you pay me back, it's going to be 1,200, 1,300, could be 2,000, depending on who you borrow the money from. That is insane. That is the greatest form of repression in the world. My friend, I need money. Why are you taking advantage of my needs by making me pay more? If I was wealthy, I would be able to afford it. And you know, look at the system in which we're living. Most students continue to pay their students' loans for years after they graduate, and some of them never pay them off. Islam has something called qardun hasanun, a goodly loan. Somebody needs money, here, pay me back when we agree on a term, pay me back exactly the same amount I gave you. Thank you very much. That is extending a helping hand for a person that needs help. That is standing and being there for them. So in Islam, you're not allowed to have any bribery. And bribery is one of the biggest calamities that affects any kind of institute. Where you go pay someone extra money on the side to get special privileges, or things don't get done until, if you're going to get a ticket, bribe the policeman, then he lets it slide. All of these kinds of transactions are prohibited in Islam. And bribery has caused mass corruption across the globe because it has created an outlet for people to get things that they don't deserve, and then those people that have certain rights that they deserve can no longer get them because they're not willing to pay the bribe or they cannot even afford it. So even your right is compromised. You can't even get your own rights because you're not willing to pay the bribe, or you cannot afford to pay the bribe. And that is clearly against Islam. Islam promotes honesty in dealing in business. And by the way, most of the people that embrace Islam on a large scale was because of the etiquettes of the businessmen from among the Muslim community, tradesmen who would travel to different countries, and they were so honest in their dealings that the non-Muslims were impressed at how honest these people are, and then they embrace Islam because of this behavior. And I was with Qayyum yesterday. We went to a mall trying to find something. I had the most interesting incident happen. My luggage broke, so I was trying to find another luggage, and then I saw one luggage. The guy told me straight up, he works with it, he said, "This luggage is not good for you, we'll break it right away." I was like, wow. Well, first of all, I don't know what I look like for you to think I'm just going to break luggages. I mean, he doesn't know my story. I know I broke my luggage, he doesn't know. We're simply asking about the cost. But that is actually an example of someone who's being honest. You understand? So you as an employee, you owe it to the people to be sincere and to give them sincere advice. It's not about just you having a greater sellout and a bigger market share. That is actually wrong. So it is from the requirements of a Muslim. If you're selling any product, let's say you want to sell your phone, and you know that this phone has a battery issue, battery drainage issue, you are obliged as a Muslim to tell the person, look man, this phone has a problem. So you buy it with its ayb, with its defect, or you don't buy it. You can't tell someone it's all perfect phone, you know that you like. Oh, this phone, best phone ever made. And tomorrow when it's cursing in all the languages in the world, when the phone doesn't even charge. And you come back and you say, well, when I gave it to you, it was working fine. Come on now. So in Islam, any product, any item that you sell that has a defect, you must inform the customer. And even to the point of weighing. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ. When Allah said, woe to those who go to extreme in weighing on the scales, meaning it's supposed to be exact, they give you a little bit less than you deserve. Allah gave them the woe, which is a major threat for the people that even transgress in the matter of weighing vegetables and fruits, or anything else for this matter. But fundamentally, for even on a level of, a small grocery store where someone is supposed to, nowadays they have modern scales. Back then, they had to use, like an iron. They put it as an iron for 1 kilo, and on the other side, they put the vegetables. And they had to kind of balance each other out. A lot of them would cheat. This was made prohibited in Islam. Fourthly, Islam is against extravagance. إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Verily, the extravagant people are the brothers of the devils. A very stern and strict warning from Allah to all of us. You having a lot of money does not mean that you have to spend a lot of money that you have. And this is a very major misunderstanding that the people have. Because they went off, they feel that they are entitled to spend however they like. No. In Islam, no matter how rich you are, there is a code of conduct in terms of your spending so that you don't go overboard. Allah says, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Eat and drink, but do not go to extremes. Do not exceed the limits. Then Allah does not love the musrifin. Allah does not love those who exceed the limits. And by doing so, you're doing yourself and your family a favor. Because if you were to spend all the money that you have, and then what have you left for your wife? And what have you left for your children if you were to pass away? If you're going to spend all the money that you make on whatever makes you happy, then you will always be living on the edge and you have not left anything for the people behind you. But Islam actually teaches you to think about your family, your parents, your siblings, your wife, your spouses, your children. All of these are your responsibility. You need to think in advance. So if you have a certain income, a budget, you have to learn how to organize your wealth. Do not be like those people who they receive their salary and within 5 days, all the money is spent and now they have to wait till the end of the month, living on scraps and living on people's, waiting for people to help them out until the following month and the next Saturday come only for the cycle to continue. You must have an issue with your management, wealth management. I'm not denying that some jobs don't pay enough, or sometimes you go through a rough patch in your life. Okay, understandable. But if for years you've been like this, something is wrong. Something is wrong. You're mismanaging your wealth. So if you make 3,000 ringgits and you see some shoes for 600 ringgits, you better believe that those shoes are too much for you to buy. And just because they look fresh and because they make you feel good, it doesn't justify it. So you're told to restrict yourself in these matters because there is a greater well-being for the society. Fifthly, Islam encourages that you give, besides the zakat, the obligatory money that is taken out from your savings, 2.5% to be specific, from your savings after a whole year has passed. That is the right of the poor people. Or 7 categories of people that Allah mentioned in the Quran who are entitled to zakat. Other than those, you also have the charity. You are encouraged to give charity all the time. And we as Muslims are taught that charity never ever decreases your wealth. مَا نَقَصَ مَالٌ مِنْ صَدَقَةٍ. The Prophet ﷺ said, no wealth has ever been reduced because of a charitable act. You don't know how Allah compensates you. We're not literalists in the sense. Meaning you have 2,000 ringgits. You give someone 500 ringgits. So your bank account should be 1,500 now. It's not like you wake up the next day, it's like, oh, it's still 2,000. That's not what we mean. Because you say, well, you said that no money, no wealth has been decreased because of sadaqah. Where's the 500? That's not how it works. This 500 of yours could be a calamity that Allah was going to strike you with a few months, a few years from now, that Allah will remove from your qadr, which will be far beyond this 500 that you spent. So you could have spent another 10,000 in medication and medical coverage, medical attention. All of that has been saved because of the 500 that you gave in the cause of Allah. So the equation is not one that is tangible in the sense that it's numbers. It's not based on math. It's based on faith. And so there are elements of the unseen that you don't know about. But in general, Islam promotes fairness in business deals and business transactions. It promotes helping those who are in need. It promotes you preserving your wealth and thinking about your family, whether you are during the time you are alive or even after your death. Those are all noble principles. If societies were to act upon them and they were to abandon all types of oppression and interest, then the societies will prosper and people will lead a great life. And there will be mutual trust between the people in doing business transactions. You won't feel that you're getting tricked or you're getting cheated every time you buy an item. Something that all of us have gone through. You buy something, find out later on that it's nothing like it was advertised. And by the time you return it to the seller or whatever, it's a bigger hassle. You just say, you know what, I'll take the L. Khalas, I messed up. I'm not buying from this, website again. After what though? After you've been cheated out of your money. So Islam is against that tooth and nail. And now, one of the most critical things that Islam preserves and guards is not your bald head, your intellect. Your intellect. And this one is a tough discussion because your age does not help you. The age in which you're living does not help you, and your actual age does not help you. Simply because there are many options out there that are created and made to divert you from having a sound intellect. Whether it is substances that you are offered to abuse and consume, or whether it is ideologies and different movements that are very active in changing the unchangeable, in re-establishing new standards that our forefathers would have never agreed about, but they have become the norm today. So on a very basic level, when we think about things that will take away the intellect, we think of the ayah wherein Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنصَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. All you who have believed, indeed intoxicants, gambling, sacrificing on stone altars to other than Allah, and divining arrows are but defilements from the work of Satan. So avoid it strictly that you may be successful. I'm not going to mention statistics to you because that's something you can easily do now. But you should know that nothing has caused more deaths and disabilities than drinking alcohol. Drinking alcohol is responsible for the corruption and destruction of millions of lives throughout time. A person who gets intoxicated can no longer reason or function, cannot even drive a vehicle, cannot even make sound decisions, sometimes cannot even speak. They stutter and they struggle to even communicate a single thought. Their anger level is ultra high and they're easily ticked off. Nothing is worse than intoxicants. And Islam had a great deal with this subject matter because the Arabs back then were pretty heavy drinkers. In fact, in the early stages of Islam, people were still going to the salah and drinking. And in the beginning, Allah Azza wa Jalla, gradually before it became prohibited as per the ayah, there was a gradual decrease. Then Allah said, for example, in the beginning, do not approach the salah وَأَنْتُمْ سُكَارَى, while you are intoxicated, until you know what you are saying. Then eventually came the prohibition. Now, when the prohibition came, there were people in Medina who were still drinking alcohol. And then the ayah was revealed. So those who received the ayah went to them and told them of the ayah. So one of them would have the actual cup to his mouth, about to drink, and then a person would tell him that an ayah was revealed by Allah that you are no longer allowed to drink alcohol. What one of us would do is say, the last one, right? Khalas, after this I'm not going to drink anymore, let me enjoy the last sip. But they had such level of faith in Allah that they didn't even operate this way. As soon as they heard it, they dumped it. And everybody who had jars of wine, big jars of wine, everybody went and broke them so much so that they were rivers, imagine rivers of wine running in Medina. And from that day onwards, you will find that 98% of Muslims don't drink alcohol. Like you'll be hard pressed, even if a Muslim you see him, he doesn't practice, he doesn't pray, he doesn't fast, he's very holy, he is very Muslim by name, yet even those, when it comes to alcohol, you say, A'udhu Billah. I'm not going to come close. Very small minority of Muslims have dared to violate this particular rule and this prohibition. But it's a lesson for mankind. Because of the preservation of the mind, when you're intoxicated, you cannot use your intellect as you are ordered to. And what would be similar to that, and maybe even greater in harm, is drugs. Drugs take on the same ruling as alcohol, in some cases even more severe. Because people tend to be lax when it comes to consumption of drugs, smoking weed, smoking, whatever else they have out there. All of this stuff that either relaxes your mind or it covers from khimar, that which covers your mind, meaning it does not allow you to think straight, all of these are prohibited in Islam. So in Islam, you are encouraged to lead a healthy lifestyle. First of all, you don't consume alcohol, you don't take drugs, all these substances are harmful to your body. You are told to eat healthy, and you are told to be active. So if you want to look at the most ideal Muslim lifestyle, you would actually be living the most ideal lifestyle that people seek but don't achieve if you only follow the code of Islam. So much so that the Prophet ﷺ told us about the etiquettes of eating. From the etiquettes of eating is that you don't fill yourself. He said, "مَا مَلَأَ أَدَمِيٌّ وِعَاءً شَرًّا مِنْ بَطْنٍ." No son of Adam fills a container worse than his own stomach. بِحَسْبِ ابْنِ آدَمَ أُكُلَاتٍ يُقِمْنَ صِلْبًا. Sufficient for the son of Adam are a few bites to keep his back straight. فَإِنْ كَانَ لَا مَحَالَ. But if it is inevitable, you want to really knock yourself out and eat, you don't want to eat just a few bites, you really want to eat, then 1/3 for food, 1/3 for drink, and 1/3 for air, for you to be able to breathe. When you really want to eat, it's 1/3 of your stomach for food, and 1/3 for drink, and 1/3 for air. How many people apply this in their daily lives? We're about at 0.1% at the moment. Every time we eat like it's our last meal. You know the people on death row? Just before they kill them, before the execution, what would you like? Give me a Texas chicken and 3 Big Macs, 4 fries, and a Sunday, and a Monday, and a Tuesday, and whatever any ice cream you have out there. And eat, stuff yourself because that's the last meal. A lot of us, every meal is just like that. But this is not from the Prophet's way, alayhi salatu wasalam. And this goes against the preservation of the intellect. Because when you eat too much, by the way, you can no longer think straight either. And this is tested. Try to eat a proper meal afterwards and go to class. You're dozing off. When you eat less, you are more alert and ready. And by the way, your stomach is adjustable. Something a lot of people don't know. Yes, right now, when you eat this much food, it's not sufficient. It is not sufficient because your stomach is used to being expanded. If you train yourself to eat small portions, then when the time comes when you eat a big portion, you will feel fatigue. So your stomach actually expands and shrinks according to your eating habits. So train your stomach to become small, so that little amount of food does the job. And and you remain active, it's very unlikely that you will be overweight. How are you going to be overweight? From where are you going to get all these calories? You don't have enough calorie intake for you to be overweight in the first place. So if you eat properly, healthy, along with working out, then you can easily gain whatever you want to gain in a healthy manner. These are from the noble teachings of Islam that protect your intellect. So no alcohol, no drugs, proper dieting, and it's a lifestyle. It's not like you go on a diet for a few months and then afterwards you go back to old ways. It's a lifestyle. And part of that lifestyle is that you get to enjoy yourselves every now and then and eat unhealthy food. You can eat unhealthy food, but that should be on occasions. It shouldn't be the norm and the standard. And then you will be healthy in your body, healthy in your mind, and you'll be alert, you'll be smart, you know how to make proper decisions. Believe me, brothers and sisters, all of these are connected. these are connected. And when one part of the equation is missing, then the result of the equation is also going to be messed up. Because you missed out on a very critical point. But this was exemplified by the Prophet ﷺ and by the Sahaba, who were known for being the ideal reference, both males and females. Everybody lived like this. There were times where no food would be cooked in the house of the Prophet ﷺ, and they would live off dates. They would live off dates only, and they survived. But today we have become extremely spoiled to the point that we eat and we eat endlessly, and we still are not satisfied with the results. Finally, lineage. This is the last necessity that is guarded by Islam. And this is based on the concept of a wholesome society, keeping the kinship ties, and being dutiful to your parents. And also included in that is the preservation of the rights of the children. Because of the strict code that Islam has to do, that has to offer regarding relationships between husband and wife, and the strict prohibition against any type of fornication or adultery, you are able to preserve and maintain the society where you don't have children born out of wedlock. So if you follow the Islamic approach to this societal matter, you will find that A, the children know who their parents are. B, this whole discussion about pro-abortion or against abortion is not even a discussion in the first place. The reason why abortion is a point to discuss is the woman entitled to kill a soul, or is she not? It's her body. This is the argument. This is her body. She gets to do whatever she wants. And the other argument is, well, it was her body until some other body got into her body, and then that created a third body. And now you can't just be acting like you're not involved in this. You are involved in this. The child has been conceived. So what position do you have to come and eliminate this child from existence because you made a boo-boo and you made a mistake on a funky night? So because of the way the societies live, all these children are either subject to be killed before they're even born, or they are born without fathers. They don't know who their fathers are, because the woman was just, enjoying herself on her own. Whereas in Islam, even someone who wants to claim or accuse someone of adultery, say, this guy, he slept with this woman. They say, come here. Where are the 4 witnesses? Oh, you don't have any? Turn around. Not us. If he was in the Islamic law, in the court of law in Islam, so you're not going to apply it outside, then baby, he will be lashed. This person will be lashed for slandering and accusing someone of committing an act of adultery without bringing 4 witnesses. But it is not an act that you get to do on your own. This is done by the people in charge. If the people in charge are implementing this law, then it's on them. If they're not, you mind your business. But Islamically, you're not even allowed to make such a slander or an accusation without bringing 4 witnesses. Why? To close the door of people also being free in mixing lineage. Because if you say that he slept with this woman, now you're insinuating that the children, if there are any children, that they came from another father. If she's cheating on her husband, then the whole society would be confused and at loss. So Islam came to preserve this very, very specifically through a very strict code. A, no one is allowed to have any intimate relations until they are married. There is no boyfriend-girlfriend business in Islam. Let's be very clear. This whole boyfriend-girlfriend culture is ridiculous in the first place. Because how many mates are you going to have before you get married? And what are you involving yourself into the first place? And is that even permissible for you as a Muslim to be engaging with a woman in this manner and being intimate with her even though she's not lawful to you? These are things that are very spread among the societies, and some cultures are completely fine with them, even though they go against Islam tooth and nail. Look, Islam understands that men and women have needs. That's why Islam promotes easy facilitation of marriage. Marriage is supposed to be easy, not the way we have made it now. It's climbing uphill to the Everest mountain with no shoes on, and no clothing, and no hiking equipment. Just go and figure it out. You need a dowry of 100,000 ringgits, and you need to book a wedding hall that costs another 25,000 ringgits, and you need this and you need that. The person doesn't want to get married anymore. Especially if it doesn't work out afterwards, so it's like you wasted all your money. A wedding is supposed to be something that is very straightforward. A few, relatives that are dear to you, they come and attend the walima, you bring them some chicken or some biryani or whatever it is that you eat, and everybody has a good old time and have some cake and go home, khalas. You don't have to have this wedding and burn all this clothes and all this show and all kind of violations against Allah and His Messenger happen in these weddings, and then you say, where is the blessing from Allah? You took away all the blessing in the first place. Because we're cultural Muslims. You just want to copy what everybody else is doing. That's not what it's supposed to be. Your parents bear the responsibility. I understand, it's not your fault. But that's how it's become. But it's on you to change. It's on you to change the upcoming generations. Don't follow your parents' footsteps in complicating marriage. Let the people get married. Simplify marriage. Yes, even if you're still a student, even if you haven't secured all the things that you need to secure, if you have enough money to look after yourself and your spouse, go right ahead. And protect yourself from all this nonsense that happens in these relationships that are all illegal and illicit. But they are part of our nature. Men love women, women love men. End of story. Oh, wait a second. Even that today doesn't register well. Because automatically you're thinking, what about men who love men and women who love women? And then the one who's, you know where we can go with this. We don't want to go there. Like before, 30 years ago, that was a normal statement. Today it's like, what do you say? Are you excluding this segment of the society? We didn't have to say that back then, but we have to say it now. I'm a traditionalist. Yes, male, female. Thank you very much. That's what we have. So Islam came to protect the lineage, and one of those very critical matters regarding the lineage is that in Islam, when a man marries a woman, she is not allowed to change her last name to be like his. It's another common practice. So you name is Abdullah Ba'abbad, and you married Khadija Fathi, she cannot become Khadija Ba'abbad. It's not allowed in Islam, because that's her right, and it's her family, and it's her last name. But traditionally now, in most Western countries and some Muslim countries, the woman changes the last name to her husband's name. And when they divorce, does she keep the last name of her husband? She's not even related to him anymore. Oh no, she changes back to her last name. Oh, and she gets remarried, she changes again, she's going to spend her whole life changing her name. How many passports are you going to have? Aslan, and what if she keeps the last name? And then eventually she marries someone from her own family, who's her own mahram, down the line from their children. All kinds of calamities can happen because of this nonsense of a woman taking up the last name of her husband. No, you maintain your lineage and he maintains his. So each one knows who the progeny is and who the ancestors are. This is among the means that Islam made to protect the lineage of the people and to preserve the right of women. That a lot of people believe that Islam does not preserve, whereas Islam preserves strictly. Way before they made all these inventions, women were part of the inheritance, and women can bear witness, and women can own businesses. All types of things were given to women in Islam. Back then, they were not even known to the civilizations, the modern civilizations. Women were absolutely discarded and treated like secondary citizens, not even secondary. Islam came and gave her a status that is beyond imagination. She's protected, respected, no man is allowed to touch her if he's not related to her. No man is allowed to gaze at her, to objectify her, as it is the case today. And some women like to be objectified. And some of them promote to be objectified but complain about it later. So they walk around technically naked, and then if a man says, what are you looking at? I'm looking at what you showed me. What is supposed to happen here? You don't like it? Cover it up. But you come and show me your entire body, then if a man naturally looks, you're gonna get mad? But some things, they have to make sense. If you really dislike this kind of attention, dress accordingly. Or, if you dress like this, then you should expect men to behave like men. Unless somebody told you that men are something else, then you don't know men. A lot of women don't know men. They think that there are some dirty men out there. No, if this is the case, we're all dirty. This is just the way we program. But a Muslim has a whole set of rules where Allah tells us, وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. Tell the Muslim men to lower their gaze and protect their private parts. So we're not allowed to look and gaze and enjoy. The first accidental look is what you get, and then afterwards, thank you very much, end of discussion. So because we follow the divine guidelines, we don't follow that trap. But for others who don't follow this divine guidance, yeah, naturally they're going to behave like men. So women were protected in a sense. So in conclusion, as I mentioned in the beginning, if the societies in the world were to let the Islamic law guard and govern their societies, then believe me, we would be living in the greatest civilization mankind can ever achieve, especially today with modern technology. We can act, because Islam is not against progression, it's not against innovation in the worldly matters, it's not against advancement. So if we can integrate the modern technology with the Islamic principles, then we will have the most idealistic society you can ever dream of. But sadly, this is only a dream and a wish. However, we have an obligation to try to make it happen. At least on an individual basis. If you can't control the whole society, you can control your own narrative and your own life. So in your own life, you apply those principles in Islam. And you try to deliver them to those who are around you. So we can at least achieve part of that promise of leading a just life in this world, and then also, and more importantly, attaining the ultimate salvation in the life to come. Because all of these, if you were to follow these if you were to allow Islam to guard these 5 necessities, then by default, you're actually being among those people who are not falling into the dhulm of others, oppressing others. And as you all know, or you may not know, in Islam, whatever sin you commit against Allah is subject to forgiveness. You could violate Allah's rights a million times, and Allah Azza wa Jalla is the all-forgiving, most merciful. Allah might forgive you. But if you wrong others and you oppress others, there's payback for that. That does not fall under the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to compensate. There's retribution regarding those matters. So the only way you can ensure that you're not violating other people's rights is by observing the teachings of Islam. That extend all the way for your parents, how you behave with your parents, how to respect your parents, how to obey your parents, and then how to maintain the rights of your children and your neighbors and your siblings and your spouses. Everything has been laid out for you. You follow the guidance of Islam, you will lead a just lifestyle, and you will be accessible to entering paradise in the life to come. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who are able to implement Islam in every aspect of their life, and to be among those who promote it to others. Whatever I said that was correct was success granted by Allah. Whatever mistake I made was from me and the shaitan, and Allah and His Messenger are free from it. Jazakallahu khairan for paying attention and for focusing with me this entire hour. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. think when you dropped it, oh, no, there you go. It's working.
Jazakallah for the lecture. And we're going to move on to the second section of the events, which is the quiz, the Kahoot quiz. So inshallah, the brothers are preparing it or setting it up. So once it's set up, we'll start it up inshallah. Alright, so the quiz is up, everyone can enter the quiz. We'll give it around a minute or two for everyone to enter, inshallah. And as always, the prize for winning the quiz is a 30 ringgit grand voucher.
Loser? Someone call himself loser?
We have the winner again. Derek Unicorn 37.
Better go. Who's the guy? There unicorn? Who's the there unicorn? MSS?
If you can't scan the QR code, you can also use the guinea pin to enter the quiz.
So,
Apple products.
inshallah you will lose the Apple products.
We'll give it 15 more seconds and then we'll start the quiz, inshallah.
Rated R. Abu Batatas. Abu Sheikh. Is that you? Yalla. Aywa.
Samsung better win also.
Samsung better win. Samsung won already, you guys just don't know.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's start the quiz, inshallah. Five necessities guarded by Islam. Question number one. Which one is not part of the five necessities mentioned? Religion, wealth, intellect, or time?
Am I walking away?
Time. Time was not mentioned in the five necessities guarded by Islam. And we have ChatGPT at number 4. Shout out to number 1, shout out to 2, followed by Salman, and Ultra Brick, number 4 and 5. Next question, inshallah. Question number 2. Which one was not one of the lectures of Discover Islam Week? The purpose of life, God wants 0 or many, society, religion, or the world. God wants 0 or many. So if you actually attended the lecture, you would have known which one was the wrong one. And we did that consult like last time. Sharaf goes to number 4. Next question, question number 3. Double points. There is nothing like him is a verse found in which surah? Al-Baqarah, Mu'minun, Kahf, or Al-Ikhlas? Surah Al-Ikhlas. ChatGPT comes back on top. And yeah, pretty much the same. Next question, question number 4. True or false? Youth in danger is allowed in Islam. I don't even know what this is. But true or false? And apparently the answer is false. Youth in danger is not allowed in Islam. What's youth in danger? Oh, injected. Okay. So injecting yourself to death is not allowed in Islam. The leader board, please. Top 3 stays the same, but water comes back or comes up, followed by beef. Next question, inshallah. Question number 5. Double points again. Today I have perfected your religion. Is found in which surah? Muhammad, Ma'idah, Baqarah, or Al-Alaq? Is found in Surah Al-Ma'idah. This verse is found in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Abu Mussab coffee. Number 3, Prophet Muhammad and Abdullah. Halfway through, question number 6. Multi-select. Smoking is bad for you, something you will never partake in, affects your lungs, a habit we will stop in Ramadan. All is correct. Every single option is correct, alhamdulillah. And the top 5 is exactly the same. Next question, inshallah, question number 7. Qardan Hasana means a loan on mortgage, a loan on goodwill basis, a loan in relation to gold, or a loan based on interest. And Qardan Hasana means a loan on a goodwill basis.
Man, people put a loan based on interest. You guys serious, man?
This is Hasana, man. Yet again, the top 5 is exactly the same. Question number 8. What's the percentage of a Muslim's wealth he should give in zakah, obligatory charity? 2.5%, 1%, 10%, or 0.025%. And zakah, you only need to give 2.5% of your wealth. Abu Mussab coffee goes to number 2. MashaAllah. Question number 9. What is the meaning of israf? Moderation, consumption, corruption, or extravagance? Israf means extravagance. The answer is extravagance.
Then means of moderation.
And meat is coming down fast, but let's see what it comes to the top 3. 10th question, true or false? In Islam, killing one person is equal to killing the whole of mankind. True or false? And the answer is true. Islamically, if you kill a person, it's considered killing the whole of mankind, the whole of humanity. And B is removed from top 5. Abdullah and S. Inshallah, S means Samsung. I don't think so. Second last question of the AW. How many witnesses do you need to accuse someone of committing zina? 4, 2, 3.5, or 1?
3.5? What is that? A midget question?
So the answer is 4. You need 4 witnesses to accuse someone of committing zina. I don't know how 3.5 works. And Sarah comes up to the top 5. Last question for Discover Islam Week. The final question. Which one of the following is a necessity guarded by Islam? Power, wealth, cigarettes, or time? Some people actually answer cigarettes. The answer is wealth. Wealth is one of the 5 things we mentioned today. Not cigarettes. So final leaderboard, inshallah. The final winner. At number 3, we have Balat Shiwahid. At number 2, we have Abu Mussab Coffee. And number 1, winner! Winner! Why are you here? Okay. Is winner the same person as last time? Can winner raise up your hand, please?
What happened? The winner is Zufar?
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
And I think this winner is one like
Did you
me.
memorize the whole lecture?
Barakallahu feekum, everyone. We'll move on. For this, the winner, we will pass the grab voucher after the events, inshallah. And we'll move on to the Q&A section. Rick, please go back to your seat. So for the Q&A section of the event, you will have to scan the QR code, and then we will ask the question accordingly, inshallah.
Take place in order to maintain the greater good. So those are matters that can be necessary, but there is an outlet for a situation like this. It's not black and white.
The next question is, how can I be above not eat that much?
I did not say that you cannot eat that much. Actually, if you look at some of the most successful athletes, you will find that they all practice what is known as intermittent, not all of them, but a lot of them have intermittent fasting. And the idea is that the quality of food that you eat, if you look at the bodybuilders and people that are, buffing up and Hulk-like creatures, those people, it's about what they eat. It's a portion, but it's primarily the protein. They are focused on eating, chicken, fish, or any food that is high in protein, because that's what builds muscles. It's not going to be the carbohydrates per se or the fats. So you can still, if you have an objective of the sort, that's fine. That's fine, because in your case, the food that you're eating, you are actually converting into muscle. We were talking about the people that eat without having an objective to build mass, so that turns into body fat. So the point of contention was against having excess body fat that will, that will basically put you at a disadvantage in so many things, and it is a health risk for you. But if you are actually eating in order to gain muscle, and you follow in some sort of diet, and so you're going beyond the recommended portion, and that's completely fine. Because you have a different objective.
No. The next question is, can a non-Muslim be a martyr and enter Jannah?
No. No, a non-Muslim cannot be a martyr, and a non-Muslim cannot enter Jannah. A martyr, being a martyr is a prerequisite. It's a prerequisite that you're a believer. And the term martyr is used very loosely now. Today, somebody dies for the sake of their country, they say he's a martyr. That doesn't count. Martyrdom is when you die on a battlefield in the cause of Allah. And that battle is a legitimate one in Islam that is being directed and conducted by legitimate Muslim rulers. Not that a fraction of people make their own group and then they go fight their own on their own, and then someone dies in the process and they say that this person is shaheed. This is how things have become today because of the humans and the Muslims not referring matters to the scholars and the people of knowledge. So for you to actually, today in this day and age, to die as a martyr is quite far-fetched. And a lot of it happens in the name of nationalism, in the name of sectarianism, in the name of many other things besides the word of Allah to be most supreme, which is what it's intended for. So that's just in terms of martyrdom. For the non-Muslim to enter Jannah, as we have said in the previous talks, for you to enter Jannah, for you to be admitted to paradise, you have to first believe in the owner of this paradise. How are you going to disbelieve in the one who created paradise yet enter it in spite of him? When you don't have the key, and you don't have access, and you don't have helpers, and you don't have intercessors, and no one can vouch for you on the day of judgment because you were not on the same page as all of these people. So no, one must accept Islam first before they have the chance at entering paradise. That said, this is today. At the time of Jesus, whoever believed in Jesus and La ilaha illallah is going to go to paradise. At the time of Moses, whoever believed in Moses and La ilaha illallah will go to paradise. At the time of each prophet, the requirement was to believe in the oneness of Allah and the respective messenger. So we're not saying that all of these people are disqualified. But after the advent of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then it is a requirement on every person to accept him as the messenger of Allah. And then only then they have the ability or they have access or they are now entitled to be admitted to paradise.
No. The next question is, by saying men will be men, aren't we enabling the poor treatment of women? At the end of the day, shouldn't we lower our gaze no matter what?
I'm sorry, repeat.
By saying men will be men, aren't we enabling the poor treatment of women? At the end of the day, shouldn't we lower our gaze no matter what?
But in the same context where I said men will be men, I said we were told to lower the gaze. So why did you remember the first part and not the second part? I actually quoted the ayah. وَقُلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Tell the believing men to lower the gaze. Of course, we have an obligation on us to lower the gaze. But how many apply that? And secondly, that is for the Muslims. For the non-Muslim men, they don't have, usually no religion has this teaching. And even in Christianity, you're not allowed to look at women with lust. But then you speak to the average Christian and ask them if they actually apply this in their lives. They usually have a girlfriend. So other than Muslim men, no man really lowers his gaze when he sees flesh. So that's what I meant by men will be men. The reality is, men, when they see women, they will objectify them. So Islam, to resolve this issue, made some responsibilities upon the woman and some responsibilities upon the men. We're not going to blame the woman for everything. Meaning, even if a woman were to walk naked down the street, as a Muslim man, you're still not allowed to look at her. You can't say, well, I mean, you still have to lower the gaze. That does not allow you to objectify her in any way, shape, or form. But we wanted to highlight the reality that some women, they promote themselves a certain way, and then they, in the same breath, they complain about getting attention, supposedly that is unwanted. But you cannot expect men who you show things more than you're supposed to for them to behave differently unless they have a religious restriction that is holding them back. If they don't have any religious restriction, you better believe that they will behave in a way that you may not like. So the best way about it is that you cover yourself up so that you don't get this unnecessary attention. Or if you are asking for it, then expect it to happen. But for Muslim men, we're not allowed to engage in that, no matter what the situation is. Yeah.
Well, the next question is, what is the proper way to find a spouse?
Not on a matrimonial website. And not by posing, in somewhere on campus and scanning through all the options that are available. Like, let me see this one, or no, I don't think this one, how about this one? You looked at like 200 women by the time you finish that 10-minute break next to your news coffee shop. So that's not how you do it. The ideal way is through connections. The best way is connections. People know people that know people. You'll be surprised how often this family is looking for a good man for their daughter, and then this family is looking for a good, woman for their son. And we just have to create that kind of networking connection between them. So the more we're open to the idea of marriage, the more we promote it internally amongst each other, the easier it will become. So that you don't have to outsource it through some very awkward or funky means. So this is a responsibility that we have. The best way is network, because when you go through someone that usually you get some sincere advice. That you know exactly what this man is about, or you know exactly what this woman is about, based on their behavior, because they're known to their society and the people in their family. The other options are definitely options, but they come with the tax. Yeah, matrimonial websites, they could be, for some people they worked out, for many others it just became a dating website. They're talking to all these different people, and after they try each other out for a few months, it turns out it doesn't work, and then the guy is literally lying the entire time. Like, he puts a face of righteousness and piety, but he's just preying on women. These things happen on these matrimonial websites. So you have to be very mindful of what could happen over there. So ideally, within the family, people that you know, or brothers that you trust, who may have their own sister. If you're a righteous man, they will offer you their sister. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is, in my opinion, Allahu A'lam, the most ideal way to find a spouse. But we have to be more transparent and less cultural, more comfortable with discussing the issue of marriage. It's not a taboo. It is not a taboo. It is not a prohibition. It is not a big deal. It is normal. It is normal for you to want a partner. You need a partner. Every man needs a woman. Otherwise, you go crazy. And every woman will need a man. Otherwise, she'll go crazy. So instead of each one of us going crazy on his own, go crazy together. Get married and fulfill the craziness together. That's just the way it's supposed to be. And the Prophet ﷺ said, يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج. Oh, young men. Shabab is shabab, not kebab. Whoever among you is able, can afford it, let him get married. So Islam promoted simplicity of marriage. Please do so.
The next question is related to marriage as well. How do you find a spouse without falling into haram? The spouses my parents find are not to my taste really, and it's difficult to make them understand.
Well, it's the same answer, I believe. Okay, that's why I was against matrimonial websites, because you tend to fall into some haram in the process, because you're having private discussions with a woman that is not yours yet. Now, from life experience, which everybody can relate to, people tend to fall in love or fall for each other very rapidly. In whatever context, the emotions usually run high. Like a couple of words back and forth, and you feel, oh, this is my soulmate. Within like a minute or two. Of course, a month later, you realize it was the biggest mistake of your life. But back then, it all made sense. That's why you have to really close the door. All this kind of communication between the two genders that is outside of the borders of Islam, you can easily think that you found the right person when you really have not found the right person. So that's why you don't want to create this kind of relationship. Why? Because if you're going to get married based on love, and then you have one of two scenarios. Either it materializes or it doesn't. If it doesn't, you are about to be heartbroken. You're about to break your heart or break someone else's heart. This happens so many times. The brother and sister they meet, they have the loveliest, experiment with each other, and everything is lovely, and now they go talk to their parents, and both parents say, no, not happening. And now, then come the questions. Brother, I met this sister, and this and that, and we fell in love, and now her parents don't want me because I am from this nationality, or this ethnicity, or this background, I'm not ready. What do I do? What do? Cry. Cry, Habibi. And keep crying. Because there's nothing I can do for you now. Khalas, you've fallen into the trap. How are you going to fix it? How are you going to unlove someone? Suddenly you feel, no one else in the world will be like her. My brother, please. You haven't even seen her once in real life. So these are just from the devil. This kind of exaggerated feeling of love and affection. It's all nonsense. And let me give you some news. Let me give you some really hard news. Love expires. Love expires. If you think that marriage is based on love, you are dead wrong. You cannot sustain love. It could be in very, very rare cases that a husband and wife genuinely love each other until they're both 60 years old. But if you don't love each other anymore, it does not mean that you're going to compromise the relationship. Islam teaches you faithfulness and appreciation of the other spouse. So for whatever reason, if the husband feels that he doesn't have this burning love he had for his wife, he dumps her and divorces her and leaves her in the street because he doesn't love her anymore, or the sister because she feels she doesn't love her husband like she did when they first got married. Now she wants out of this marriage, and children are left, with a broken family. Why? Because we no longer love each other. So what if you no longer love each other? You don't have to be loving each other like Romeo and Juliet your whole life. You just need to appreciate each other. This is a woman that stood by you when nobody cared about you. Now you're something, then appreciate her, and vice versa. So this is what a marriage is built on. Because if you build your whole life about love, I have to love her. You don't have to love her, Habibi. You can meet a woman and through her parents get to know her. Within 15 minutes, you're ready to get married. Believe me, wallahi, and she'll be the best wife you will ever have. Or you can have a woman and go out with her for 10 years. 10 years. You've tried everything under the sun. Then as soon as you get married, 1 month later you divorce. Now that you moved in with each other. Because these are variables that you cannot control. It's all beyond your control. So stop putting yourself into it. This is the problem of watching soap operas and movies and all this stuff. It's all false perception of life. Everybody wants to live a love story. If there's a love story, congratulations, enjoy it. But don't wait for love to happen. Get married and love will come in. If it comes in, ahlan wa sahlan. If it doesn't come in, let it never come in. Adi. Love your children instead. You don't have to love your wife to death, but you can appreciate your wife and respect her. And that is what is expected of you. So I don't know how I got into this, because I don't think that was a question, but it doesn't matter right now, does it? Is your mic still not working?
Well, okay. And the next question is, are boys and girls allowed to be friends in Islam?
I have a feeling it's one person asking all these questions. But they're like slowly but surely trying to test the water, see what kind of reaction you're gonna get. Yeah, I mean, what do you mean by friends? What is the definition of friends? Friend, by the way, is a very advanced meaning. There's acquaintance, and then there's a friend, and there's a buddy, and there's a soulmate. There's different levels. Friend is actually quite in there. So that's someone that you have such a relationship with that you basically can rely upon them at the time of difficulty, someone that you can open up to, someone when you're facing issues you can talk to and they can give you some advice. And how is that going to be possible between a male and a female? While maintaining Islamic guidelines? Sure, a lot of people have friends, but they're not following the Islamic guidelines in terms of friendship. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. So technically speaking, no. A man and a woman cannot be friends in that sense. Because that friendship, and by the way, in a man's life, there's no such thing as female friend. Don't believe me, this is a study that was already made on men in general. They've asked men that have nothing to do with Islam, couldn't care less about Allah or the Messenger ﷺ. They would ask a woman, are you friends with, would you ever go out with him? Because he's your friend? She would genuinely say, no, I wouldn't, because he's really my friend. 99% of them was like, yeah. If the opportunity arises, yeah, I can easily turn this friendship into something more than that. So the man is always looking for something extra, but he's able to play a role of just being a friend until something else comes along the way, in which case he's easily going to switch. So these are facts about men. Again, I'm not going to teach you about how we are, because I'm sure women have experienced men like this, and you have experienced yourself. And you know yourself. Even your best female friend, if one day, I'm just saying, sorry, this is a little graphic. If she gave you a call and they said, listen, I'm lonely at night, can you come over? Where's the one who's going to say, no, sir, we're friends, come on, we can't do that. Where is this man? I want to meet him. Yeah. Now, if you're a Muslim, of course, but then you wouldn't have a female friend in the first place. But the average man is like, yeah, how far is your house? Would you like to bring anything with you? And what about friendship? What friendship? I never saw you as a friend in the first place. I was just hoping one day you would wake up. And these are some hard facts that people don't accept. But no, you cannot have a female friend in Islam. Marry her and call it a day.
The last question for tonight, inshallah. I have friends that are Muslim, but do not follow the rulings religiously, despite knowing about it. How do I advise them?
Well, how to advise them? By recognizing the same issue that you have with yourself. I'm sure each one of us there's something about Islam that we know that we don't practice, just because we're human beings and we're vulnerable and we're sinful. And so there isn't a perfect Muslim around here. It's never happened. The closest to perfection was the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ, there were occasions where Allah Azza wa Jalla would guide him and advise him to that which was better. So he would do things that were not ideal. They were good, but there's something better. For example, عَبَسَ وَتَوَلَّى and جاءه الأعمى, and he frowned and he turned away. When a blind man came, a blind man couldn't see the Prophet ﷺ. So even though the Prophet was engaged in giving da'wah to some elite Qurayshis, this blind man came asking a question. The Prophet ﷺ frowned. The man blind cannot see him. So it doesn't really hurt anyone's feelings. Still, Allah Azza wa Jalla guided the Prophet ﷺ to a better behavior, where then he shouldn't even frown, even though the man is blind. So if this is the Messenger of Allah, then you can imagine our condition and the rest of the situation where we can lose control, we can lose, our cool, as they say, become angry, and so on and so forth. So remember that you yourself, you have defects, and that you also are sinning, but you're just sinning differently. Maybe their sin is more exposed and more outwardly, your sin is more private, no one knows about it, but at the end of the day, we are all sinning. When you bear that in mind, then you're able to better advise them. At the end of the day, we should help one another overcome those challenges and overcome those sins and become more righteous people. So give them advice sincerely, give them advice with love. You try to, be there for them. Learn the rulings about Islam and convey it to them. Sometimes people just need a push. They know what's wrong, they know what's right, but they need a push and they need someone who does it with passion, someone who does it sincerely. Someone who cares enough about them to help them overcome these obstacles and hurdles. And that is your role and obligation. That is your role and obligation, to help everybody else become better. That means you have to have a da'wah mind state. You're always thinking of how to give da'wah. And that means that you have to be patient. Sometimes it is not wise to tell people immediately what the issue is. Sometimes you have to wait for the occasion or the opportunity to arise, and then you capitalize on it, and then you share the feedback that they need to hear. It's not immediate in your face all the time. So this is something that you gain with experience, with trial and error. until you reach a point where you're able to help people in this manner. Allahu Akbar.
Jazakallah khairan.
Allah.
That is the end for tonight's talk, and that is the end for Discovery Islam Week. Barakallahu feekum, may Allah bless you all. Before we end, Jazakallah khairan for traveling all the way from Saudi Arabia to attend Discovery Islam Week and to give us lectures and teach us new things.
It's my pleasure.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you all the audience for attending. Thank you to our alumni for supporting us. Thank you for our students from other universities for joining us. Thank you to all the Nottingham students for joining us. And last but not least, thank you to the Islamic Society Committee, then Islamic Society volunteers, the brothers and the sisters for working really, really hard to make Discovery Islam Week a successful event. Jazakallah khairan, barakallahu feekum. Last announcement, inshallah, we have refreshments at the back or outside of the event, so do enjoy them before you leave. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.